So, artificial intelligence. We're going to have a look in a bit of applications and using artificial intelligence. But before we do that, let's just look at some of the, the general information you need to know about artificial intelligence. So, the type of artificial intelligence you often hear about in the press these days is what's referred to as generative artificial intelligence. And generative AI is, if you like, the new generation. That's pretty well what you can represent by the name. But we're talking about artificial intelligence such as ChatGTP, and you may have heard of other ones such as well, you may have heard of Board and a few others. So these artificial intelligence systems really have been around for quite some time. They've taken possibly as long as 5-10 years to develop, and they've used access to the internet and downloading various documents and sources for the artificial intelligence itself to actually develop into a sort of point at which you can understand what humans are actually saying or talking, physically talking, as it can diagnose, it can analyze actual speech, but also written form. So as you type and ask it a question, you can understand what you're actually asking and implying within the question, and then go and find out information for you or do a certain task for you. So artificial intelligence does have some limits. For example, it does have certain biases, which are the biases it finds within the original data it's given. A good example of this was when the artificial intelligence was first used to devise systems for facial recognition. There wasn't enough emphasis put on people from different ethnic backgrounds, and they found that the actual results were that the facial recognition worked only best with particularly white males, and even white females had some difficulties where people from any ethnic background, it tended to work less efficiently and sometimes didn't work at all. It also, artificial intelligence is also really well devised and created really for creating stories. So its natural instinct is when it can't find particular bits of data to fill in certain parts of a task, it actually makes that data up on occasions. So it can hallucinate, as it's often referred to. Classic examples, so possibly from the myth of artificial intelligence, examples like barristers using artificial intelligence to create a summation at the end of a court case. But because it's been created by artificial intelligence, the artificial intelligence actually couldn't find a particular piece of case law, and it just made up a piece of case law. And this particular barrister, according to the story, was found out when the judge queried the actual case law and said, "I don't know that case law, and I couldn't find it in the book." And these are the sort of things where true or not, it can be something you need to always fact check. Don't use the results. Treat it as a tool, and like any other tool, you then modify what you do with the artificial intelligence before you distribute it and share it with others. And likewise, it as I say, it is only really a tool. It's not something which you can take on as a sort of final, finished product. Maybe you might be using artificial intelligence to create assignments or work, but you could treat that as a sort of opportunity to summarize. Maybe you're looking at a particular book and you could ask it to summarize a book, and then therefore you could then read the summation to find out what the actual book is about. But obviously you need then to go into further detail, further depth yourself, and research your own point of view. Don't take it just from the artificial intelligence, because that is a collation of other people's point of views. So you need to obviously have your own slant on things. Now, there have been some great programs about artificial intelligence, but a couple of years ago, I'd highly recommend the Royal Institute Christmas lectures. And they did, I think it was 4 episodes, and it was based on the science of artificial intelligence and how it started, and some of the history, but also how it actually works, so that you know that what is actually taking place. And it's talking about the technologies of artificial intelligence as well. So we're well worth, if you have the time, to go through and see what you think of the actual facts of using artificial intelligence. And there's lots of artificial intelligence. It's not just one. People often hear of stories about ChatGTP and think that's the only one. There's quite a few. For example, one we're going to use in just a minute is called Gamma. And Gamma is really good for creating presentations, but there's other artificial intelligence which is great for creating presentations. There's artificial intelligence which is really designed for creating videos. You can type in, create me a video of a man chasing a duck, and it will create that video, or it will use an existing video of maybe a man or a duck running and then incorporate extra things. Because really what the computer's doing is it's taking that piece of video and it's breaking it down into individual images and then bringing in new elements to add to those individual images to create a new video. So in computer terms, it's quite an easy thing to do. But of course, there's not just one. There's not even 120. There's thousands of artificial intelligence individual applications and sites you can use, and it's pretty well developing every single day and increasing in quantity. And every artificial intelligence has a certain area it specializes in. So, some are used for industry, for manufacturing, others are used for general things such as chatbots and, such like. For example, search. Search is particularly one of those things which can benefit greatly from artificial intelligence, because traditional search just goes off and finds websites you can look at. With artificial intelligence, such as what you see here with Google using something called AI Overview, it goes away and it basically summarizes. It goes off and it looks at those websites, and then it gives you a sort of rundown of what those websites are generally saying, as well as giving you underneath the actual websites themselves. You can still go to the original sources, but it basically gets you, one step ahead of understanding that particular subject matter. Okay? So let's have a quick look at Gamma. So here we go. I've already signed into Gamma. If you go into gamma.ai yourself, you'll have to sign up. It's totally free. You get 400 points, from which it costs 40 points per presentation. So in other words, you can do 10 presentations for free, but every month you get another number of points given to you for free. So, you can use it quite a long time without running out of points before you have to subscribe, or, maybe just sign up with a new email address and you get another 400 points. Might be a bit cheeky. So I'm going to generate, and you simply have to tell it a few bits of information. So first of all, I'm going to change it to give me 10 cards, and I'm actually going to change it to English, but UK English. And these are the sort of things you get quite used to with websites. Okay, I think I've just gone past. There we go. And then you're going to put in your request, what you wanted to create a presentation with. So I've got one ready, which is the history of the atomic clock. Now, as I say, you can create a presentation, or you can create websites. You can even just create documents, but it will go away and it will use the same research and bring it into whichever format you prefer. But I'm going to stay for now as a presentation. I'm going to choose generate. Now, it doesn't quite generate. What it does, it creates those 10 slide titles. And those 10 titles now are editable. So I can go in and I can change them. So I can look for, example, if I wasn't sure about that title, I can literally add more to it. And, also take words away and what have you. So it's completely editable. And whatever you put in there is what it will then go off and research. So each one of those will be a short piece of research, milliseconds. But in human time, it's probably, hours worth of research per slide. So it will go off, it will research each one of those slides, and then it will generate the actual finished slide with images, and it will artistically look nice and, look pretty and what have you, which is what we're going to do next. So when I click continue, it will ask me which of the layouts I'm going to go for. And there are loads of layouts. I mean, there's no reason why you can't just choose, the one all the time or what have you. There's absolutely tons of layouts. I'm just going to stick with one basic layout. You can change this afterwards, by the way. But my preference really is always to use Gamma to create the initial content and then save it into PowerPoint by exporting it. So I'm going to go for a basic layout there. I'm going to choose generate. Now, you'd be surprised how quick it can create PowerPoint. It can be as quick as 5-6 seconds, maybe the longest, possibly about 15 seconds. But I am talking about seconds. So if you just look at this video, I won't change the timing on this video. So when I generate now, you'll see the genuine time it takes to create the actual presentation on this particular subject matter. So 1, 2, 3, and it's off. Now what it's doing, it's breaking it up into the individual slides. The first slide, obviously, it's the title slide, which I've given the title, and now it's working it through. So about 5 seconds, and it's already created 4 slides. Now we're on 6 slides, and you can see over here how many slides it's got. So we're on the 7th slide, nearly done now, 8 slides. So what are we now, about 7 or 8 seconds? And we're just coming up with the final slide. And as I say, it's not only creating the formatting and putting the information in and finding the research and the text content to put into there, it's also found what I find are pretty good images. The images representing the content and giving you an overall opinion of what the content's all about. And if you find that a particular slide is a bit basic and you would like more details, add more sort of information, there is a facility up at the top here where you got the AI symbol, and you can make various changes. For example, you can ask it to spell check, you can ask it to translate into different languages, you can make it longer, which will give it more content. You can ask it to simplify it, okay, and so on and so on. So there we go. So there's our PowerPoint. Now, it's not actually a PowerPoint, it's in Gamma's native format. Now, you can present it, you can press the present button up there and you can present it. You can change, as I said before, you can change the themes. So you can go in and you can change your themes, whichever theme you like. So even if you pick the theme initially, you can go in and change that. You can change the colours and all sorts of stuff. So it's quite changeable within Gamma. But I tend not to use Gamma to make changes. I tend to like to use PowerPoint, and the benefit of that is once you've learned to use one application such as PowerPoint, and then you can export these to PowerPoint. You can just make your changes in that same application, which is quite useful. So to export, it's pretty straightforward. I'm just going to close that down. So you go to the share button at the top, and you choose export. And there's 3 options, of which I always choose the export to PowerPoint option. So I'm going to click export to PowerPoint. That's going to come up. Strangely, it takes longer to export than it does to generate the original PowerPoint, which I always find a bit weird. So it might have taken maybe 10 seconds to create that PowerPoint by, going off finding research, but it seems to have taken much longer to actually generate it. So there we go. We've now got a history of the atomic clock PowerPoint. I'm going to save that. Once it's saved, I'll get a little sort of thing up here, which I'm going to click on, and that will load it into Microsoft PowerPoint. And there is my perfectly generated, looks very, very similar, if not identical, to the one created in Gamma. So there's my original PowerPoint, which I can now change any way I like. I can make any changes, I can move things, it's totally changeable. Images can be changed and what have you. And all the editing can be done in PowerPoint. So here is another use of artificial intelligence. I've already shown you that in search, for example, under Google, I've shown before, AI overview is a new feature which Google's bringing in, which is basically summarizing and bringing the information together as a simple narrative or sentence, maybe. So to help you understand, but it does give you more detail as well. It can give you a lot of detail if you request this. So the AI, the overview is very useful, I find, on Google. But sometimes you want to be able to do things directly. So here, for example, I'm going to use the same example of what I used with the presentation. So I'm going to ask it for the history of the atomic clock. Now I'm using Perplexity, and the website for this is perplexity.ai. So I'm asking it the history of the atomic clock, and it will go away, and it will do the same as Gamma did. It will go away, and it will find the research. It'll actually find all the research, start bringing it all together. Some of this research might be brought together as a block, others might be rewritten according to what Gamma requires. And if I can read through that, it's kind of like asking a computer to go off, find everything it can find on the internet and bring it together and explain it to you by summarizing it. And the good thing I find about Perplexity, probably the best thing about Perplexity and a few other AIs is it tells you where the data it reads or where the data came from. So it gives you actual numbers here and it tells you where it came from. And at the bottom, it has basically what we call in academia as a bibliography. It tells you the places it got that information from. And if you want to go to the exact place, if you click on it, it will take you to the exact place it got that information from. So that sentence there was inspired, if you like, by that particular website there. Okay, so you can see how that's working, and it's very good. And you can see that obviously the next sentence also inspired by the same. The third part there is inspired by two different websites, and it's using these different sources and it's referring to them, so you know when you fact check where the information came from and if it got it right. But it's very accurate. It's really good for higher level sort of courses, but it's good also to know that what you're reading has a basis of being factual. And there you go. I think we've covered AI quite well. Hopefully you'll be able to use AI, and as new technologies and new AIs come out, you'll be able to generate your own things using AI. So if you're creating a letter, and this is another example of Perplexity, I use Perplexity. If you ask it to do tasks, it can do them quite well. So write a letter to tell your energy company they are overcharging. Yeah, I'm sure there's a few typos in there. There are. Yeah, I can fix them using my built-in typewriter, which, by the way, is AI generated. So there you go. Let's go ahead and ask it to do that. And it writes me a simple letter, which obviously has certain things it doesn't know, such as the name of the company and your name, and it goes off and it creates a good starting point letter, which I can then use and I can copy, I can bring into a Word editor, for example, and I can make changes to. So that's another really good use of AI. Okay, have great fun.